嗨，大家好，欢迎大家来到 XCamp 的教育论坛，我是今天的主持人安娜。XCamp 今年赞助了斯坦福 Proco 编程竞赛，因为这个缘分，我们今天也非常的高兴，邀请到了斯坦福大学 CS 专业最棒的8名同学来到我们的论坛，和我们分享他们是如何录取到斯坦福 CS 的。我们会请7位同学先介绍自己，接着是我们的论坛环节，最后是20分钟左右的 question and answer 环节。Hi everyone, welcome to XCamp Educational Forum. My name is Anna. We are very happy to have 8 students from Stanford to share their CS journey with us. We have 4 parts of our event. First, XCamp introduction, then panelist introduction and discussion. And after that, we have 20 minutes question and answer. So at first, let me play a 2-minute video to introduce XCamp.
Computer science and artificial intelligence are tools that will change the future. XCamp Academy is a community dedicated to inspiring and cultivating the next generation of computer science and artificial intelligence talent. XCamp Academy was founded in August 2017 in Silicon Valley by 2 Google software engineers. The name XCamp was inspired by the variable X, which represents unlimited opportunities. XCamp's curriculum system and training methodology is inherited from Mr. Xianyou Xu, a Chinese diamond-level international gold medal coach. Our staff here in the US is mostly composed of senior software engineers from tech companies in Silicon Valley. In addition, we have strong support from international and domestic competition winners in our coach team. From beginner-level Python to classic C++ courses and competition honors courses, XCamp's curriculum is designed for students of all different levels. By participating in team-based competitions and facilitating frequent group study sessions, XCamp also fosters an environment of collaboration to build each student's confidence in their ability to code. As of now, more than 150 XCamp students have been qualified for USACO Silver Division and above, including 25 in the Platinum Division and 5 were selected in the US Camp, out of which 4 were fresh from the 2022 season. In 2022, in Stanford's renowned high school programming competition Proco, XCamp students won first and second place in the Advanced Division. In other well-known Bay Area programming competitions, such as the Hardcore Programming Invitational and Teams Code, XCamp students have won both Novice and Advanced Groups top places. Here at XCamp, we believe that children have unlimited potential and can change the world through coding.
Thank you, everyone. I really enjoy our talking today. So let's introduce our Stanford students. The first, hi,
Hey, everyone.
Ryan.
Hi, everyone. 大家好. I am Ryan, as previously mentioned. I'm currently a master's student and a junior at Stanford. I study computer science and music. Some places I worked include the Stanford NLP group, where I'm leading a dialogue research team, NVIDIA AI, and I'll be working at Hudson River Trading this summer. Some other stuff I've done includes, the Stanford AI for Healthcare Research Lab with Professor Andrew Ng. I've been a TA for some of Stanford's undergraduate classes, and back in high school, I competed at the Linguistics Olympiad. So yeah, you'll get to know me more later during the Q&A.
Thank you. The next. Hi.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ian. I'm a current junior at Stanford, as well as a first-year master's student studying computer science and artificial intelligence. As for work experience, I've spent the last 2 summers working at Amazon.com, doing software engineer stuff. During the school year, I currently work at the Interactive Robot Perception and Learning Lab, where I study robot locomotion and tool design. And in college, I'm generally interested in robotics and reinforcement learning, which is a branch of machine learning. For high school, I went to Vista Del Lago High School, which is a relatively mid-sized school in the Sacramento area.
So cool. Jeremy.
Hello, my name is Jeremy. I'm a junior at Stanford studying math, and previously I did software engineering internships at NVIDIA and TikTok, and I also did some deep learning research work with Stanford, and I'm interested in computer science and specifically some parts of cybersecurity, and I'm also interested in software development. I went to Hunter College High School in New York for high school.
Wow, from New York. Gordon.
Hey all, I'm Gordon. I'm currently a math and CS coach at Stanford. I previously worked at SIG and also part of Stanford NLP. I used to, compete in linguistics competitions, and I'm quite interested in the intersectionality of machine learning and NLP research as well. And yeah, I grew up in Hong Kong and Taiwan. I'd be very happy to field any questions in Chinese as well later on. But I did go to high school at Phillips Exeter Academy.
So cool. Hi, Rishi.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rishi. I'm a sophomore, also studying computer science. I previously worked at Meta, previously known as Facebook, last summer, and I'll be working at Hudson River this summer. I'm broadly interested in theoretical computer science and distributed systems. I've done some research at Stanford in computational geometry and topology and statistical inference algorithms. And I've also been a section leader for some of the introductory computer science classes here at Stanford. And I went to Sycamore High School in Ohio, and I competed in USACO.
Wow, so fabulous. Hi, next one, Nathan.
Hey all, my name is Nathan. I am currently a freshman at Stanford studying CS. In the past, I was a Meta AVCS fellow, and I'm currently interested in AI and its applications to healthcare. I'm also a section leader for Stanford's introductory CS classes, and I'm doing NLP and biomedical AI research at Stanford, Yale, and Harvard. During high school, I was homeschooled. Thank you.
Next one, Tanmay.
Hi, my name is Tanmay. I'm a freshman at Stanford, and I did some internships in high school at Eightfold.ai, which is a unicorn based out of India and San Jose, and I also did some research at India. Currently in college, I'm interested in software development, cybersecurity, and AI. I'm a section leader for the introductory courses, CS 106A and 106B. I'm also part of the ICPC team on campus. And I completed high school in India. I was training camp for the Indian Olympiad in informatics. I attended that training camp. Yeah, that's about me.
Thank you. Ethan, hi, Ethan.
大家好，我们非常高兴跟你们今天交谈。我是去年从 Stanford 大学毕业，那我是一个计算机科学和音乐科学专业，我还完成了一个 Master 硕士学位在那个计算机学。那我正在 Hudson River Trading 做 quantitative research 我还在亚马逊和 Google 做 research. And in college, I was worked at the Stanford NLP group, and I was a medalist at the International Linguistics Olympiad.
Thank you. So let's come to the question part. The first question. Yeah. Thank you.
We can have this. So I think since our team is large, we'll have two different perspectives for each question. Gordon, Can you start us off?
Yeah, for sure. So I think in general, I'd say I'll start off with the second question, and I think it will segue pretty well into the first question. So I think one thing that was pretty unique for me for high school was I liked to do a few main things. I think one thing I liked was I liked doing a lot of linguistic stuff. So I participated. I know there are a few others in this group that have done the linguistics Olympiad. So that was one thing that I thought was, something really fun, being able to kind of look at a bunch of questions, bunch of sentences and trying to figure it out. I think kind of the logic that you see in linguistics, manifests quite well into computer science as well, trying to find certain parts of it and, trying to match this with that. And I think that was like really something I enjoyed. Another thing that I think is like a particularly good highlight for me, and I think what made me quite unique was I really enjoyed playing chess as a high schooler. And then one thing was, when I was in high school, AlphaGo came out, and I thought, why can't I try adapting this to chess, try adapting it to other variants of chess? And so I built a game engine to play chess that looked at what other people were playing and trying to adapt from that. So that was something that I wrote about, competed in a few competitions for research and did quite well. So I'd say that would be what made me unique for Stanford. But yeah.
Thanks, Gordon. For another perspective, we'll ask Ethan, who is not related.
Hello, it's a common misconception that Gordon is related to me. Actually, we're not related, but I would say that it's very hard to say what makes anyone unique for Stanford because there's so many people who want to apply and it's a very, very small school. But what I think makes not only me, but everyone at Stanford unique is that we all have our unusual interests and things that make us, like everyone is really cares about something and has knows a lot or really likes something. And so Gordon is really into chess. I was also really into linguistics. I like reading about linguistics and I spent a lot of time reading online about linguistics. And in college, I was actually able to study more linguistics and that's part of what I do now. I think what's really important and what makes it really unique is that whatever you do has to be something you really like, not just copying everyone around you.
Thanks, Ethan. Let's move on to question 2. We'll have time for questions later. Okay, the next question, let's start with Nathan. Nathan, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, so in high school, I took summer classes at a local community college and I did some research at a lab. I'm really grateful to my mentors for having given me the opportunity to work with them. Along these lines, I think my recommendation for students thinking about activities this summer is to just get out and explore new opportunities. This is part of why programs like XCamp are so amazing. They're the perfect place for any students interested in CS, from the very complete novices to the best USACO competitive coders.
Great, thanks, Nathan. Let's also have Rishi.
Yeah, so in high school, my primary interest was in math. And that's kind of what led me towards the more theoretical side of computer science here at Stanford. And so I spent my last 3 summers of high school attending a math camp called Canada USA Math Camp. Yeah, it was like I learned a lot over the summer, got a lot of experience to high level math, and really met an awesome community. And I think that's my biggest recommendation, as Nathan said, for spending your summer, is it's a perfect opportunity to delve a little bit deeper into something that you're really interested in, whatever the interest that might be, and doesn't have to be just math and CS. There's a lot of opportunities and camps and things available. Yeah.
I have a question. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you think you have free time in your high school? I mean, do you have your own life? Do you think you overload yourself in your summer or your daily study?
I think my take on this is that, it's always important to be focused, but there's really only so much that one can work in a week before you start to go kind of crazy. So it's important to have balance. But yes, working hard is important. And I don't think any of us were like, hanging out with friends all the time in high school, but balance is important.
Yes. So,
And I can also just follow up on that is that like not every activity needs to be academic related, right? Like, so I did marching band for 4 years of high school. That was like, for me, a very like relaxing, fun, like experience. I got to spend a lot of time outside of school, like hanging out with friends and doing a lot of things. And so it's not about just overloading yourself so that you're burnt out entering college, but you can do a lot of like fun activities, things that you enjoy, as long as Ryan said, you're working hard and you're focused in the areas that you think you want to prioritize.
yes, definitely. So let's move on. Next question.
Sounds good. So for question 3, let's have Jeremy.
Yes, hello. My name is Jeremy, and in high school, I was involved in my high school robotics team. I started participating in the team for my freshman year, and then in my senior year, I was the team captain for a robotics team and the co-captain for my high school's robotics team. So I did 2 robotics teams, but I really enjoyed this activity because I enjoyed spending time with my team. My teammates were very fun to hang out with. And I also enjoyed learning a lot about robots and being able to drive the robot and being able to program the robot and being able to work with my hands to make a robot. So that was very enjoyable for me. And that is one activity I participated in. I also did some volunteer work when I was in high school with a local children's hospital. I would go to the hospital once a week and help the children that were there with their homework and just other activities that they wanted to participate in. So this was also an enjoyable activity for me. And yes, I think a lot of the activities that I did in high school, they were all activities that I really enjoyed working on. And that gave me the motivation to also pursue leadership positions within those activities because I wanted to contribute to the activity and improve it for other people.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. This is really interesting and meaningful. Let's move on to Tanmay for another perspective on this question.
Can I ask one question? Someone told me, the joke that there's kind of like a really big stress culture around our Stanford campus because everyone is perfect. They try the best job, the best experience, and best research. So I'm not sure how did you solve your pressure?
I think I can help with this one. I think the illusion is that people are perfect. And while the Stanford students are extremely smart, motivated, and intelligent people, I wouldn't say anyone is perfect. I think, as Ethan said earlier, it's just really important to find the things that you love and do them really, really well. So I wouldn't say you have to be perfect. Now, of course, your grades need to be good. Your SAT score needs to be good. Your APs need to be good, things like that. But I think beyond that, the illusion is that people are perfect, but they're not perfect.
Sure, thank you. Let's move
Great.
on.
Let's move on to Tanmay for the rest of question 3.
Sorry.
Yeah, before I answer question 3, I just wanted to add one thing to what Ryan said. And I feel like just one thing I've observed at Stanford in my time over here is that most of the people here are like very inquisitive and passionate, and they read a lot. And I think that also contributes to like, it's not that like they're perfect, they're just inquisitive, and that they want to learn more. I think it's a hunger to learn, which I've seen a lot in people at Stanford. But yeah, coming to question 3 is that so high school activities. I think for me, I ran the chess and technology club in my high school, which was very fun and very rewarding. Especially because in my high school in India, we didn't have any clubs at all. Like we basically had no club culture, and so I worked hard to get those clubs started and got a lot of participation and organized workshops and competitions and stuff. And I tried to lead by example, and I think that was very one of the most rewarding activities for me. And which I guess comes under leadership. And other than that, I think I spent a lot of time in 11th and 12th grade on competitive programming and preparing for IOI. I think which is when I really fell in love with CS, and I that's when I knew that I wanted to pursue CS in college. And I think it really helped me develop very good CS skills, which I still reap the rewards for in college. Just sort of being very thorough and understanding the concepts very well.
Thanks, Tanmay. I think that's a really helpful perspective. Let's move on to question 4. For question 4.
Wait, I think there's a question from Anna.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I think some Stanford students do research in high school. Did someone, just like your friends or parents or teachers or some adult mentors, give you guys some critical help?
Nathan, do you want to answer this one? As you
Yeah,
did.
sure. I'll answer this one. I think relating this to the question in chat, in order to get research opportunities, the best strategy is just to cold email professors. As Rishi added on, like 95% of professors will not respond to your email. So you need to just keep trying and don't get discouraged. But the best way to get research is just to either just keep cold emailing people or try to apply to one of those competitive research camps.
Yes. So keep trying. Let's move on to the next question.
Keep trying is a good phrase. Let's move to Ian for our question 4.
Hi, of course. So for middle school and high school students considering computer science, I think the biggest piece of advice that I have is to spend your time in high school and middle school exploring a lot of different avenues to see what you're interested in. There's plenty of really good opportunities for multiple fields of CS. USACO for the algorithmic side, and obviously you guys are already, a lot of you are already doing that with XCamp, but there's also plenty of other opportunities, such as Cyber Patriot if you're interested in cybersecurity, and a lot of, for example, like Intel STEM Fair, I know a lot of students do artificial intelligence or machine learning projects for that. So I think the biggest piece of advice I have is just try doing stuff on your own, build your own projects, look up tutorials online, try to learn a little bit about everything so that you have a better understanding by the time you get to college about maybe what you're more interested in and what you might want to focus on more.
Great, thanks, Ian. And let's also hear from Ethan, who is the only one that's full-time employed right now.
Hello, so I might have a different perspective on this because I graduated from Stanford recently. So I'm now fully employed. I've gone through the whole process. But here's my 3 advice for people who want high school students and parents who are thinking of doing CS. I'm going to also try to translate into Chinese because I know parents care a lot about this. So I don't know how good it will be. I'll try to translate this. So number 1 thing is to make sure you actually like CS. 确保你真正喜欢 CS. And why is that? Because these days everybody wants to do CS. There's like a lot of people trying to do computer science. 虽然 CS 是很好工作，但是有很多人想做，那个竞争真的很激烈。So it can also be very, very hard to find a job these days because the economy is not good and it can be very challenging if you don't like it. So it is a lot of hard work, and that's why it's important to make sure you really like, because there's many other jobs to do out there as well, some which even incorporate CS. 所以虽然CS 很好工作，你需要 保证你真正喜欢 CS。问题是，如果你不喜欢，是太多工作，太
辛苦。
difficult. Okay. The second thing is to make sure you sign up for internships. What does that mean? 确保报名实习。为什么？ Because it's to get a job right now, you have to make sure you do internships throughout college. And during the sophomore year, especially, it's very important to get it because you only have the 3 years, and it's hard to get in freshman year. 所以第2年很重要拿到一个实习，因为你要毕业完要去上班的时候，你需要1-2个实习。So the important thing is to make sure you're like competitive for that by practicing for interview, even though on top of your class. Like so, in addition to class, you have to practice for interview problems. So the third one, in addition to this, because it's important to interview, like learn about stuff. You don't get focused on competition. Competition is not as important as doing things that you like. 不只是做比赛还是做课，你应该做你个人人定的喜欢东西。Why is that? Because the skills that you have, like the things that you do that are interesting for you, will give you more skills that you can take into your interview and your internship. 应该做一些自己有趣的事情。为什么？因为他们当然会给你带来更多技能， so give you more skills that you can bring yourself.
Great. This is a wonderful answer. And if we don't have more questions, should we do question 5?
Yeah, let's. Do you want to introduce a little about your Proco contest?
Yeah, I would like to talk about that during question 5, actually.
Yes,
That's a big
our
part,
XCamp
big
is the
part
partner
of
of Proco. So let's move to the Proco website.
Sounds good. So, hi, I'm Ryan. 2 years ago, I was chair for Proco with Ian. This past year, Rishi was chair. Proco is a great contest for developing coding skills. It's also very friendly for those who have less experience because we have a novice division. And it's also quite challenging for those who do have experience. For instance, last year, no one solved all the questions. I think Proco is a great way to practice USACO style problems in a more fun and friendly context because, USACO is online, but Proco you can actually go in person, do it with your friends. And I think this is a wonderful way to see if you're interested in this kind of programming, but also, to show interest in, these competitions because, when you apply for college, you want to show that you're interested in doing, Stanford related activities. And I think that's definitely one way to show that you're interested. So that's sort of my take on Proco. And I know XCamp has done historically well in this competition. So I don't know what secret recipe Dr. Guo has, but they seem to be doing pretty well.
Yes, we are very happy to be the partner of Proco. So I think, thank you, Ethan, and told me a lot of things about Stanford students. I think his main sentence I just say, we live in this world when we really love it. Yes, so let's move to question 5.
Okay, for question 5, let's have Gordon.
Yeah, so I think I can answer this in Mandarin so that it's like easier for everyone to understand. And I'll try to talk more about like Stanford life in general and what I like. 所以其实大概上可以分成2半吧。就第一个就说一下，就是学业上的一些好处，然后再说一下社交方面的一些好处。所以其实说学生生活当中，就是我其实可以上很多不一样的课。我虽然是读计算机，但是我其实上了很多数学课，然后也上了很多关于写作的，因为我其实对写作跟一些书的一些方面，我其实很有兴趣的，所以其实可以做很多想要做的。而且我从可能 大一大二的时候就可以上很多关于 machine learning 的一些课，然后可以跟很多蛮优秀的那个老师一起做，就像 Dr. Andrew 或 Dr. Chris Manning 做 NLP 跟那个 AI 在 healthcare 一些活动，所以我觉得其实这种东西很有收获的。所以我说，其实 Stanford 最棒的就是它很多研究的机会。如果你想做自己想做一些 research 的，有很多机会来做的。然后下一个就说一下社交上的一些好处吧，就是其实我觉得就是在
宝贝，你没有下棋的话，可以拿着去占地方吗？
不好意思，我继续讲一下吧。所以社交上的一些好处，就是其实你看一些像 Harvard，另外一些很多很棒的学校都有很多啊，好的学校有很多，但是我觉得 Stanford 最棒的就是觉得在西区，其实西岸可以看到很多跟你兴趣很不一样的一些人吧。就是说，如果你跟全部都是读计算机的一些人一起做事，那你们所要做的事情都很少。但是我觉得 Stanford 就是收一大堆，就是可能说对environment 很有兴趣啊，或者对 politics 很有兴趣，这些很多，然后你就可以跟他们多聊天，然后可以多了解一下。我觉得可能数学这个方面有什么样的问题，可能是像 healthcare 当中有怎样的问题，然后这样可以再多做一些不一样的活动，可以自己再做研究一些东西。所以我觉得其实我觉得学生这些当中都很棒啊，就是可以看到很多不一样的人。那就大概这样说吧。我觉得这里的 social life 也非常不错，就是这里的天气真的很不错，所以其实冬天的时候、秋天都可以跟大家一起聊天啊，一起出去玩耍吧。就是旁边有很多不一样的餐厅，然后也有就是很多可以做的活动啊，所以我觉得其实 social life 当中也很不错。对。
So what are some weekend activity? Could you please show me?
Weekend, yeah, weekend. So weekend we have we have something called Stanford Dish. So we can hike there if you are into doing like activities. There's also like you can go to a gym. We have a lot of very good sports facilities, and we do have a very good sports team that you can watch. If you are interested in it, we sometimes get quite the celebrities that do show up to these events too. So we are pretty good at sports. And also I think just going out, like it will depend if you're like a freshman and versus like a junior. 我说大一大二的时候，其实我们出去吃的时候，就是可能在附近吧。那现在大家有车，所以我们就可能可以出到旧金山啊，或者跑去San Jose去吃一些不一样的餐厅。上次我记得跟同学一起去海底捞，还蛮不错的。所以其实这旁边食物都很不错，所以对啊，所以 weekend 的时候常会出去 ，yeah。
I think it's a pretty good answer overall, to be honest. I think we can move to Q&A.
Sure. So Anna, let's do
move.
Q&A, and maybe I'll just try to go through the questions in the chat in order, and and then we have until 8 o'clock, right?
Right. Maybe let's go to the ones we haven't answered yet, and then maybe people can.
Sounds good. So let's start with Jia's question. Jia, if you want to unmute and ask your question, one of us will answer.
No, why don't we just answer the one that was in the Zoom?
Oh, okay, sounds good. Okay, so the question from Jia is, do you learn CS math much beyond your current level when you're in elementary school and middle school? Maybe we can start with, maybe Ethan can handle that.
Yeah, I can handle that. So I think that when I was homeschooled, so my experience may be different from other people. But I'm grateful my parents I was able to learn more advanced, math. For example, I was able to learn about algebra very early. But I would not say as a math kid, I'm definitely not like a strongest math kid by any means. And I never did the math competition, and I had not good score on AMC 8. I think what I try to do instead is learn what I was interested in. So for example, there are some interesting topics like for CS. Instead of taking class, I learned how to do project on my own. I would make websites and stuff like that. And I thought that was really fun. And actually the skills from that, I've even been able to use even now, even like 10 years later. So I would say that I did learn beyond a normal level, but I definitely wasn't like a math Olympiad kid or anything. I think it's important to learn what you're interested in.
Great. Let's have Rishi for another perspective on this.
Sure. I think I have a pretty similar recommendation as Ethan here. And so for me, what I tried to do is I took accelerated a little bit in math. I think math was something I was really interested in. And I also took some classes through a local community college in high school. So a lot of states have dual credit programs, and I was able to take some classes through local universities to gain a little bit more of insight. But I'll definitely second the suggestion about like looking at what you're interested in, right? Like, so if there's like, I was really interested in this like specific area of math called topology, and I spent a lot of time reading up about it, taking some online courses, and just really trying to find specific ways of exploring my interests.
Great. Thank you, Rishi. Let's go to the next question, which is how good is good? A words or just show great interest, such as playing piano as a hobby? Maybe Nathan can take this one.
I think, yeah, so how good is good? I think it's generally self-explanatory. Like as long as you're committed enough, then I think colleges can tell. I think the main crux of the matter is just putting in enough time and being dedicated enough. I think it depends on each thing you're talking about though, whether it's music or sports or really any like sector of extracurriculars.
Adding on to that answer, I think it's important to do things that you really enjoy, and things that, if you're like really, not so great at whatever it is, then maybe, you only have so much time, and unfortunately there isn't enough time to do everything. So I think like, if you realize that maybe you're struggling more in this, one extracurricular, then maybe you can cut your losses and, find something that you really enjoy and do well. I think that's sort of my advice. Let's go to the next question, which is from Mary, about any summer camps you can recommend or you had participated. Does anyone from the Proco team want to take this? Maybe anyone who did this? Okay, I can answer this one. I think for summer camps, there's a wide variety of things that you can do. Obviously, some of the most prestigious summer camps are things like RSI, which you've heard of. I feel like most students from RSI end up going to, good schools. I think beyond that, though, there's a wide range of things that you can do. I think doing any kind of summer research, as people like Nathan and Rishi have mentioned, is really helpful because it shows interest in the subject and doing meaningful work there. Okay, let's move to the next question about have you seen Eileen Gu on campus? I think the safe answer is no, but Eileen Gu does exist on campus somewhere. Has anyone seen Eileen Gu?
Yeah, I think like a couple of my friends who are in the same dorm as her are good friends with her, and I've seen her around. But like, yeah, she's often not on campus because she's like traveling for stuff. But yeah, she definitely is taking classes and she is attending Stanford. So yeah.
Great. I see some are answered in chat, so let's go to LX's question, which is any recommendation, advice for high school students to improve leadership skills? Ian, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. So I guess for leadership skills, it always helps to run a club, or even if you don't have a particular idea for a club that you want to kickstart from scratch from your school, it's also often very useful to work your way up the ranks of a club that you're interested in. For example, I did Science Bowl when I was in high school, and by I think the time I was a junior, I was president. I think from running a club, you learn a lot about how to manage a lot of the logistics that regular members of a club might not be aware of. You also learn a lot about having to just manage people, keep people interested in your club, and how to really like, ignite people's passion for whatever it is that you're trying to lead. And it also helps in college apps. So yeah, I think just running clubs, or even if you're doing like a sports team, shooting for captain for that. If any of you guys, I know there were a few at my school that try to do startups. If you guys wanted to do that, I think there's just a bunch of ways that you can get involved in leadership.
Great. Let's move on to Leon Lee, who says, how did you show any impacts from what you enjoyed doing? Ethan, do you want to answer this?
I think that you I think it depends, right? Like I think a lot of people say like if you really enjoy doing something, then you can win awards at like maybe the state or national level, and that's very cool. But it doesn't even have to be that complicated. Like for example, when I was in high school, I actually submitted I liked doing like this graphic design. So I actually submitted the graphic design to the state fair, the Santa Clara County, Santa Clara County Fair. Not really like the most like academically prestigious thing, but I thought it was very interesting, and I was able to practice doing graphic design, and I was super proud of it. And I think that at a certain point, it doesn't like, it's not really so much out of the word so much as just showing you have this passion and you're able to do interesting things with
it. Great. All right, I think that's a good answer. How does Stanford view SAT scores? I don't think we're qualified to speak on that, but I think most students at Stanford have a high SAT score. I don't believe the median SAT score is as high as something like, say, Caltech or MIT, but you'll have to double check that. Okay, what else do we have? Andy, is spending most of my time to make USACO Gold /Plat and then making USAJMO worth it, or is there something more important? I'm currently 7th grade USACO Silver and AIME qualified. Gordon, do you want to answer this? I know you did some math competitions.
Yeah, so yeah, first of all, congratulations. That's no small feat. So I would say in general, like, I don't really want to comment on like what Stanford likes specifically, but I think what Ethan has mentioned is that Stanford does really like to take people that are passionate in something. So if you think about it, like one reason why you're going to college is hopefully with the education you'll be able to like do something in the real world with it, and Stanford really wants to be in that position where they can facilitate you with resources. So if you want to ask about like certain things that certain examples, like it can really be anything. I've known people that are very passionate about the environment and go out, do a lot on that side. Maybe there are people who are really excited in trying to save the environment. They make an app that tracks your progress, how much you're donating or how much you are saving, and then that's working around in the community around. So in general, like Stanford really just wants to see that you're interested in something, that you have a passion for something, and kind of work towards that. So I think again, like if you look at a lot of us enjoy linguistics, and what we do is we like in a more competitive format, there's obviously competitions, but like if you were to be one person who goes tries to learn a lot of different languages, tries to go and preserve a few languages, like maybe you make an online dictionary where you try to understand certain vocabulary and try to save that type of language preservation. That type of work is also really valuable. So in general, just finding something that you're really passionate about and working on that, I would say, is the main goal. It doesn't really matter like what exactly you're doing or like how well you do in a competition, but as long as you can really show that you have a passion for something, I think that's what Stanford worries about more. So I hope that answers things.
Great, thank you, Gordon. Someone had a question about, do you have any projects to the disadvantaged population? For Proco, I can speak about our Novice division, which is for those. It's specifically designed to be friendly in a way that if you don't have any coding experience before, that's the perfect category for you. And I think it's a very encouraging thing to do. Guojun asks, how many years of coding or computer science experience do you need before entering Stanford? Honestly, you don't need. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I do want to point out something that might actually be interesting to you guys. There are some schools where you apply directly to computer science. For example, at UC Berkeley, you have to apply. You can apply to the EECS department, and then you're guaranteed to do CS. But Stanford and some other private schools, it's not really that way. You apply under anything. And in fact, a lot of people do many things, and they might even major in CS, but they have a lot of different interests. So I would say that there are certain people with like 10 plus years experience, and they go to Stanford and they're like, oh, I love CS so much. But then there are other people who have a lot less experience. In fact, some of the friends I have who are CS majors never even tried programming before they went to college. So it's a huge spectrum of different possibilities. But having more CS experience will help you get a job. So
that's definitely true. And that's why programs like XCamp are helpful. Okay, I think Andon has had a few questions about video games and battling addiction and staying clean. So let's move to Gordon, who has some perspectives on this.
Yeah, so I think in general, this question depends on age as well. I would say like if they're younger, there's definitely more merit to doing like having more stringent kind of control measures, like making sure that internet is closed at a certain time. I think those were things that like I've heard a lot or like are most helpful. One thing to kind of note is maybe in some moments, or like if they're really interested in playing games on the internet, like hopefully one way to kind of think about it is there any way to turn this, or like is there like something they're really interested in about the game and kind of talk about it. So like for example, I personally was like quite interested in board games, and so one way that I kind of thought about it was like I like looking at these games and kind of thinking about what's the ideal way to kind of approach it, what are like some unique strategies to kind of think about. So I think this is definitely something that would definitely benefit with like a bit communication with the kid. Maybe it's a hypothetical situation, maybe it's real, but I think like being able to talk about it, like maybe just ask about their interests, see what they're interested in, like particularly about the game. Like maybe it's like maybe it's a football game and they really enjoy the football but can't go outside or don't like going outside, and maybe that's something that you can resolve by like, maybe finding like an indoor way to kind of play the game, or like some way to kind of ramp things up and do things. But in general, like I would say games are like either a way to express some sort of interest, or it's a way to socialize with friends as well. Like maybe a lot of people in school also play the game, so it definitely depends on the context, I would say. But yeah, those are a few ways I would suggest. Hope that helps things out.
One of our classmates, or not my classmate, but like someone in the year above me, is actually he was a chess player, and he played online chess, so it's like basically a video game. But he actually became very good at it, and he went to Stanford, but now he works as a professional chess commentator, and he's actually really famous, and Gordon knows exactly what I'm talking about. So like it is possible to do something. I mean, I understand, like it totally, like people do get addicted and it can totally waste a lot of your life. But at the same time, sometimes it's possible to make something positive out of it as well, because there are things that you can learn out, like things that can be very interesting.
Great, thank you both. As to the question about disadvantaged socioeconomic groups, Stanford is really good in this regard, that they're very committed to helping with this. And as a Stanford organization, ACM, we follow the same policies. You can read more about that on Stanford's website. Kathy asked, how many lines of codes have you written when preparing for a USACO? Tanmay, do you want to answer this?
I mean, yeah, that I can't say exactly how many lines of code are written. I think what I can do is so I used to practice a lot on Code Chef and Code Forces. So I think cumulatively I've probably solved around 400 problems, 350 to 400 problems on both platforms combined, which is basically like I just used to practice. So yeah, that was pretty good, because I think the best way to do CP is to look at a problem, think about it for a long time, try and figure it out, code it up, and eventually always like don't leave problems unsolved. Make sure you go back and read the solution to it, read a tutorial and figure it out, and then also solve it correctly, and make sure you know the problem, and don't just leave it unsolved. Because I think that's the best way to learn. I had a tendency to leave problems unsolved, which is not right. You should always you should not leave anything unsolved, and that's the best way to improve, I think.
Great, thank you, Tanmay. Alex asks, what's the normal lifestyle of students at Stanford? Do you have lots of pressure to study? When do you usually sleep and get up? Pressure to study, I think most of us are here at Stanford because we kind of motivate ourselves to study. So I think that's usually not a problem. But it is true that watching everyone else's incredible achievements can make you work a little harder. When do you usually sleep and get up? Well, I have a bad schedule, but it's like one of my friends wakes up at like 7:30 every day. So it really depends on the person. What's the normal lifestyle of students in Stanford? I would say most students usually work quite hard during the week and maybe have a little more fun on the weekend, but it really depends on who you're talking to. Tracy asks, can you share ways to prioritize your tasks and stay on track? I think a lot of people use things like Todoist or Google Calendar to sort of keep a track of what they have to do. And I would say Stanford is no different than other places in this regard. You need to do your work. And if you don't do it, bad things are going to happen. Okay. Grace Lee, is it easy to change major at Stanford? It is quite easy to change major at Stanford, in fact. There's, unlike other schools, like Ethan mentioned, you don't need to declare CS. Like you don't need to apply to the School of Engineering, for instance, or apply to the School of Humanities and Sciences.
I know someone changed their major in senior year.
Yes, so you can do that. Andy asks, how long does it take to do a practice problem on average for USACO? Andy, do you mean us? Do you mean your student? Do you mean like Purple Crayon? I think it depends. Bill asks, how many hours each of you
Andy
spend?
says you, like us.
Oh, for me. Oh, it takes us a reasonable amount of time. I think USACO problems are pretty challenging and they're hard for everyone, including us.
I have to point out that like it really depends per person, and it's definitely a thing you have to study for. But even like even us, we've applied to many jobs and done a lot of interview problems. Sometimes we just don't solve the problem.
Yes, they are hard problems for a reason. Bill asks, how many hours did you spend on community service or helping disadvantaged population? Well, I think for me, I did a lot of volunteer work. But like for instance, one summer I went to elephant sanctuary in Thailand. But it really depends on what you're like. I think you should care about what you do, right? And if you're just doing it to log community service hours, then that's pretty unfulfilling and frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's important to keep in mind, like, it's not just for college application. Otherwise, the college admission people will be able to tell because they will be able to notice.
Julia Wen says, did you volunteer a lot to help the URG kids? I think broadly for me in particular, I worked at a soup kitchen, and that was a pretty, I think a pretty humbling experience. I would say it's definitely a URG, not kids mostly, but it's definitely a very real world experience. I think a lot of us on the team have done similar volunteering activities. If anyone wants to chime in, but yeah, that's sort of how it goes.
Yeah.
Ian, do you want to talk about volunteering? Oh, sorry, Gordon.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I was just saying, yeah, in terms like underrepresented, I do agree that like community service and giving back is like an important thing to do, just like in general. It shouldn't be something that you're doing like for the sole purpose of college. So in my case, it was we had a lot of students or like lots of kids that didn't really have resources to learn computer science or play like have people to like play with, and these were like 5 or 6 year olds. So spending time with these people, that was kind of the work that I did. And also I helped out. I know a lot of questions about music, so I think I can also add on to this. Like I played a lot of I performed at a lot of like elderly homes, and I think this is really helpful in general, just like trying to give them something to look forward to. So I would say those are like the two things that I worked on. I think like emotionally you learn a lot about yourself as well, so you definitely think about it as a way to improve yourself rather than thinking about it as a context of, will this help me in college? But yeah, those are a few that I would suggest.
All right, Ian, do you want to answer the question about procrastination from Tracy?
Sure. Tracy's question was, how do you deal with the urge to procrastinate when facing a difficult task? I can speak about, I guess, my personal experience. So especially in Stanford, a lot of the problem sets or homework assignments, which I get these days, are pretty long. And in addition, a lot of them you actually can't do last minute because a lot of the times the amount of time it takes to run exceeds a certain amount just by default, no matter how well you do it. And so what I found useful when trying to avoid procrastination is I try to lay out how long I estimate, each subtask would be. So when I'm taking a look at a PSET or an essay, I give myself smaller milestones, which are a little bit more comprehensible. And in doing so, that helps me understand a little bit about how much time I need to spend on each, so that I don't have the urge to just say, okay, I'm going to hold off until 3 days before the deadline and then shove it all together. I think having those milestones and then understanding that problems do arise and you're probably going to need to give yourself extra time on each of those milestones really helps me from having to do stuff last minute.
All right, thank you, Ian. Let's move on to Rishi for the question about research. Rishi, do you want to take this one?
I think Rishi somehow froze. He seems to be frozen.
No worries. Who would like to take this?
Do you want to take the research one?
Yeah, I can take it. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I think the optimal strategy is to just look at websites of professors around the nation and like PhD students and like a couple of universities. And you should see which ones interest you. Like maybe there's this particular discipline that you're interested in, whether it be like computer vision or maybe like theory or something. And I would just reach out to them. As I mentioned earlier, the chance of success with each individual professor is very low. So don't get discouraged if you don't hear back from them. But you should just reach out to as many as you can.
Great. Thank you, Nathan.
I also think it helps to read some of their papers, and that helps you have something to talk about when you meet the professor or email them.
Great. Next question is about 7-year-olds and prepping for USACO. And Anna, how much time do you have left? I realize it's 7:59.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything to be at. So if you want to keep going, I think we can keep going.
I mean, we're happy to keep answering questions for a little bit, but I thought I would ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Ethan, do you want to take the 7-year-old one?
Yes. So I think at 7-year-old, there are many other things that you should worry about, like improving your reading and writing skills and improving your math skills. And like 7-year-olds very young. There's other things you should consider doing, like going outside and playing and like riding bikes and things like that. But I think that if you're if you are 7 years old, there's a book called Hello World about Python that I did when I was younger. It's called Hello World, and it's a very good book to just learn about Python. And I think at that age, it's a really good thing to do.
Adding on to Ethan's answer, from my experience with teaching younger kids beginning coding, I find that two things tend to be very helpful. The first is starting with a little bit of a more fundamental understanding of logic rather than jumping straight into Python or any other like programming language. So math skills often help, I think, as somebody has mentioned in the chat. The other thing that I found useful was starting with Scratch. Scratch is, for those of you who are not familiar, a block-based programming language. So instead of typing in commands like you do in Python, which is often a little bit more intimidating for younger kids, you can start with more discrete instructions. So like, for example, turn left by 90 degrees or move forward, something like that. And I found that that's a lot of an easier way to slowly ease, especially younger kids, into the process of learning coding.
Great. Maybe next, let's talk about transitioning to Python to C++. Maybe we can ask Jeremy for a perspective on that. Oh, I don't see you, Jeremy. Maybe we can ask someone else. Maybe Rishi. I don't see Rishi either.
Sorry, what
Okay.
was which question are we on?
Yes, transitioning from Python to C++. How to do that?
Yeah, so I think like Python is a very common like introductory language, and that's often easier to start off with. And in terms of transitioning, I would say most programming languages are actually the same. In terms of once you know one programming language, you essentially know them all. Like the syntax changes a little bit. Maybe you do semicolons instead of tabs, but there's nothing fundamentally different. And so what I do is whenever I'm learning a new programming language is to spend a lot of time just doing some practice problems in them. Like they can be like coding contest problems or just like simple, like, any kind of like programming contest problem that like needs like at most like 20 to 50 lines of code. And I can write it, once in Python, try implementing it in C++, and then keeping on referencing online tutorials, understanding what the differences are. And eventually with enough practice, you kind of get the hang of what the differences are. But like in terms of logic and understanding how to solve problems, there's not really significant difference between most programming languages.
Great, thank you, Rishi. Let's have Gordon comment on Xiaohan's question.
Yeah, so Xiaohan asks, what can I do in middle school to improve my chances of getting into Stanford? So yeah, I think there are like a few things to talk about. I think Rishi gives a really good point where like it's a really good time to explore what you are interested rather than trying to get into college. I think the really important way to think about things is like a lot of you may think like, getting into a good college is kind of like an end goal, but think about it as a way, it's like a stepping stone to get even like to do even more, right? Like maybe right now, like getting into college is your goal, but once you go into college, you'll have something else as your goal. So I wouldn't think about things as like, what should I do to improve my chances or whatever. I think like you will naturally improve your chances just by enjoying something and kind of working on it. And like, I don't want to speak for Stanford specifically, but there are a lot of really, really good colleges out there. So like making Stanford like specifically like shouldn't just be like the only goal. Like there will be a lot of places, and yeah, I would definitely vouch for Stanford, but I'll just say that like I'm sure you'll do well no matter where you go. That being said, like another thing I would like to talk about is like in middle school, something that's really kind of scary, or like not scary, but one thing to like be wary of is this idea of burnout. So basically it's the idea that, like if you're working really hard, like 5th grade, really working hard, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and you're continuing to do this, at some point it'll become quite tiring. So I would really recommend like middle school is a chance to, be able to kind of be a kid, like be able to kind of like socialize with people, and you'll realize that like this network of people that and kind of like learn how to like socialize with people, that's going to serve you very handy. Like if you like spend a lot of time in middle school like being able to like be a leader, for example, then that's going to be very helpful in high school if you want to, like, let's say now you're into CS and you want to run something, and now you have like a lot of leadership skills that you can use and make something tangible. So I would say like figure it out, like a lot of the soft skills, trying to enjoy your time, be able to understand like how to deal with people, how to deal with conflicts, and I think, and then like finding your interests. I think those are like a lot more valuable than just honing into like trying to get into a specific school. That's my suggestion.
Great, and for our final, that's a really good answer, Gordon, and I think that's words well spoken. For our final question, Ian, do you want to comment a little bit about what things you can do, like student organizations you can do for coding in general?
Sure. So for clarification, is this for like college students, or is this for pre-college?
I think they mean pre-college. I think they mean high school, if I had to guess.
Yeah, probably high school.
Sure. I think a really good way to get started is join things like Cyber Patriot, which is a cybersecurity, I think run by the US government. It's a cybersecurity competition. That's a really good one. Another one that is pretty common is robotics. So I think FRC and VIX are the ones that come to my mind. I personally did VIX back in high school. And then I guess if we're looking for coding organizations, I'm not entirely sure if there's a whole lot of unified organizations for stuff like algorithmic coding, the XCamp obviously, but there's, I mean, for stuff like machine learning, you know, you can also do STEM fair, but unfortunately in high school, some of those things do have to be self-driven, and I'm probably not aware of all the ones that have sprung up since I left high school. So I think it's probably best to do a little digging around, pick a subfield, security, machine learning, whatever, robotics that you're interested in, and do a little bit poking around yourself, and you'll probably find some stuff. Yes, and Ryan says, please check out Proco. Not sure
Wonderful.
if that counts as but yeah.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks for finishing us off. Hopefully that was helpful for everyone. I know there are a lot of questions. I hope we answered most of them. I hope we could be of some help. Yeah, please do check out the Proco link. We'll likely have a contest in like March-ish next year. And thanks, Anna, for hosting us.
So, 谢谢大家来参加我们今天的教育论坛，也谢谢我们斯坦福的朋友们。希望孩子们呢能够找到自己的热爱，是跟随自己的心，而不是说被其他的事情所裹挟。我们接下来也邀请了很多其他的著名的这个大学的优秀同学们来分享他的经历，然后也请大家期待。So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you Stanford students. And we hope everyone can choose by your hope, by your interest, by your heart, and not controlled by other things. I think, yeah, we live in this world when we love it. Yes. So we will invite more students from other famous university to share their their CS journey. So please keep tuned. Thank you everyone. See you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.